Lewis says this, and keep in mind, again, Easter versus mindset, definitions versus pictures. This is in the beginning. Right and wrong is a clue to the meaning of the universe. He's trying to introduce the idea of this law of human nature. And he's not going to start it by talking about what is law and what is human nature and how do we define our terms here. Listen to how he starts. Everyone has heard people quarreling, and sometimes it sounds funny, and sometimes it sounds merely unpleasant. But however it sounds, I believe we can learn something very important from listening to the kinds of things they say. They say things like, how'd you like it if anyone did the same to you? That's my seat. I was there first. Leave him alone. He wasn't doing you any harm. Why should you shove in first? Give me a bit of your orange. I gave you a bit of mine. Come on, you promised. People say these things every day, educated people as well as uneducated people, and children as well as grown-ups. Now, what interests me about all these remarks is that the man who makes them is not merely saying that the other man's behavior does not happen to please him. It's not purely subjective. He is appealing to some kind of standard of behavior which he expects the other man to know about. And the other man very seldom replies, to hell with your standard. Nearly always he tries to make out what he had been doing does not really go against the standard, or that if it does, there is some special excuse. He pretends there is some special reason in this particular case why the person who took the seat first should not keep it, or that things were quite different when he was given the bit of the orange, or that something has turned up which lets him off keeping his promise. It looks, in fact, very much as if both parties had in mind some kind of law, a rule, or fair play, or decent behavior, or morality, or whatever you like to call it, about which they really agree. And they have. If they had not, they might, of course, fight like animals, but they could not quarrel in the human sense of the words. In the human sense of the words. Quarreling means trying to show that the other man is in the wrong, and there would be no sense in trying to do that unless you and he had some sort of agreement about what was right and what was wrong. But what we have here is Lewis using this picture. What does it mean to quarrel? I'm not going to define quarreling for you. I merely want to show you. I want to show you, not tell you. Because we all see it, and I'll give you some examples of what it is to quarrel. And you tell me if this picture is like something you've seen. And then you tell me if this conclusion that they're not only saying in a subjective sense that that thing is wrong, but they're appealing to something that is wrong because they know that the other person knows this. He's not defining definitions. He's drawing us pictures. And then he's saying, let us investigate what this really means. And then he goes on to give definitions later. But the thing that's beautiful, the thing that's absolutely beautiful about this whole book, in being Mere Christianity, is that almost every chapter begins with an image. And there is something, I think this speaks to the timelessness of this book. Well, I would not argue that it is his most timeless book. I think this speaks to the timelessness of the book in the fact that he starts and uses images. This is his poetic mind speaking. McGrath makes much of the failed poet that Lewis is or was before he became a prose author, and much less a apologist for Christianity. But I think that is this again. This, as you know, I told you, as I make rap music, as I write, as I try and infuse these things. Here's what Lewis is doing: infusing his poetic senses with his essay writing. He doesn't just give us definitions; he gives us images. Again, as we see here, he is predisposed. Again, you investigate further and further back, you see it everywhere. He is giving us the poetry, the image, the symbol. He's not just using words, definitions, and ideas. He's using ideas and definitions, true. But it is in using the imagery and the symbolism that inform the ideas, the definitions. And so this is just another example of someone who uses an Eastern mindset when communicating with a Western audience. And in blending the two, you get some real beauty. This doesn't make one greater necessarily in every case than the other. But it is to say that there is power in both ways, and we cannot just reject one in favor of the other. There is some marriage, some intertwining here that must happen.